Have you ever wondered how Christianity first reached Meghalaya? Well, in this video, you'll find out how. In the heart of India's northeastern hills, where the clouds touch the mountains and the air is filled with mystery, there is a place called Meghalaya, the abode of clouds. Meghalaya has a rich and unique history that has shaped the lives of its people. One of the most important chapters in that history is the arrival of Christianity, and it all began with a man named Thomas Jones. Thomas Jones was born on January 24, 1810, in Berriew, a village in Wales, United Kingdom. He came from a humble background and worked hard in his youth, doing jobs like wheelwright and miller. However, there was always something more in his heart. He felt a strong calling to become a Christian missionary, spreading the message of Christianity to places where it had never reached before. His dedication to his faith led him to become a minister in the Calvinistic Methodist Church, and it was here that he decided to dedicate his life to the work of spreading Christianity. In 1840, Thomas Jones, along with his wife Anne, set sail for India. India was a land full of diverse cultures, languages, and religions, and Thomas felt a strong desire to share the Christian faith with the people who lived there. They first arrived in Calcutta, now Kolkata, where they faced the challenges of a completely new world. The climate, the people, the culture, everything was different. Amidst these struggles, a deep sorrow struck their hearts. Their first child was born in this foreign land, but before they could even hold him long enough, he passed away. The pain of losing a child in an unfamiliar country, far from home, was unbearable. Grief weighed heavily on them, but instead of turning back, Thomas and Anne clung to their faith. With broken hearts but strong determination, they continued their journey. Then Thomas set out for the Khasi hills, determined to begin his mission. The journey was long and difficult, but he pressed on, believing that he had a purpose to fulfill. Finally, on 22nd June 1841, he arrived in Sora, also known as Cherrapunji, ready to begin a new chapter among the Khasi people. The Khasi people of Meghalaya followed their traditional indigenous beliefs, worshiping nature and ancestral spirits. They believed in spirits and gods that lived in nature, in the trees, rivers, and stones. They had their own language, customs, and ways of life. For someone from a completely different culture like Thomas Jones, it was not easy to connect with them. But Thomas was determined to learn their ways. He knew that to share the message of Christianity effectively, he first needed to understand and respect the Khasi culture. Thomas spent years learning the Khasi language, not just by listening, but by living among the people. He quickly realized that the Khasi language had no written form, which made it difficult for people to read or write. Determined to bridge this gap, Thomas took a bold step. He decided to create a written form of the Khasi language using the Roman alphabet. This was a groundbreaking achievement, as it allowed the Khasi people to read and write for the very first time in their own language. Through his hard work, Thomas Jones not only translated the Bible into Khasi, but also produced a dictionary and grammar book for the Khasis. His efforts made it possible for the Khasi people to understand Christian teachings directly from their own language, which was a revolutionary step in their spiritual lives. In addition to his work in developing the Khasi language, Thomas Jones was passionate about education. He established a school for the children of the Khasi community, teaching them not only religious texts, but also practical subjects like reading, writing, and mathematics. Education became a powerful tool for change in the Khasi community, opening doors to new opportunities. Many Khasi people, especially children, embraced the education that Thomas brought to their lives. The school became a place where ideas were exchanged, and children learned not just about the world of Christianity, but about the wider world outside their traditional customs. However, Thomas Jones's journey was not an easy one. He faced resistance from some members of the Khasi community who were unsure about Christianity. Change is never easy, especially when it challenges long-standing beliefs and practices. Life in the Khasi hills was challenging, with a harsh climate and limited medical facilities. In addition to the challenges of language and culture, Thomas also faced personal hardships. His wife Anne passed away in 1846 during childbirth. Her death was a deep loss for Thomas Jones. Despite this personal loss, Thomas did not give up. He remained in Meghalaya, continuing his mission among the Khasi people. 1 year later, he remarried in 1847 to Emma Cattell, and they had a son, Thomas Cattell Jones. Thomas Jones did not come only to spread Christianity. He came to live among the Khasi people, to be their friend, and to teach them new ways of life. He believed that true change did not come through words alone, but through action, kindness, and understanding. At the time of his arrival, India was still under British rule, and many British officials looked down on the Khasi people. Some of them mocked Thomas for choosing to live among the Khasi locals, telling him, "Go back home. Don't waste your time on these useless fools." They saw the Khasi people as unimportant, but Thomas refused to listen. He did not see them as lesser beings. He saw them as people with great potential, people who only needed guidance and opportunity. Instead of giving up, he worked even harder. He focused on teaching the Khasi people valuable skills that would help them in their daily lives. He noticed that they cut trees often to make firewood, which was harming the forests. So he introduced them to the idea of using coal as an alternative fuel, helping them protect their land. He also taught them how to work with their hands. He showed them how to cut wood properly, how to shape it into furniture, and how to use tools like hammers and nails. Through his teachings, many Khasi people learned new skills that helped them improve their way of life. He did not just give them lessons. He worked alongside them, showing them through example. Thomas Jones was not just a missionary. He was a teacher, a guide, and a friend to the Khasi people, standing by them when others looked down on them. Over time, more and more Khasi people began to embrace Christianity. What began as a small mission grew into a movement. The Khasi people began to realize that the message of Christianity had something to offer them, not just spiritually, but also in practical ways. The education that Thomas had provided allowed them to engage with the world in new ways. They learned how to read and write, how to understand new ideas, and how to communicate more effectively with people from outside their community. The Bible in Khasi allowed them to deepen their understanding of their faith and grow spiritually. But Thomas's work did not last long. In 1849, just 9 years after he had arrived in India, Thomas Jones sadly passed away from malaria in Calcutta. He was buried in the Scottish cemetery at Calcutta. His death marked the end of his life's work, but his legacy lived on. The written form of the Khasi language, the Bible translations, and the schools he had established continued to influence the Khasi community for generations to come. Thomas Jones's contributions were not just limited to religious matters. They had a profound impact on the Khasi people's entire way of life. The introduction of the written word allowed the Khasi people to preserve their culture and traditions in a way they had never been able to do before. The language that Thomas helped develop became the foundation of Khasi literature and education, and it remains in use today. Today, the Khasi people of Meghalaya, along with other tribes like the Garo, have embraced Christianity in large numbers. Around 75% of Meghalaya's population is Christian, and Christianity has become deeply woven into the fabric of the state's culture. The Khasi and Garo tribes are among the most devout, with nearly 80% of the Khasi people and 90% of the Garo people identifying as Christians. The churches, schools, and Christian institutions that Thomas Jones helped establish continue to serve as pillars of the community, shaping the lives of the people in ways that Thomas could have never imagined. The spread of Christianity in Meghalaya is not just a story of one man's mission. It is the story of a cultural transformation, a blending of old and new beliefs, and the power of education to bring about change. The arrival of Christianity brought a new sense of hope and opportunity to the Khasi people. It taught them to read and write, to see the world through a new lens, and to connect with the divine in a way that resonated with their hearts and minds. The legacy of Thomas Jones is a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness, the simplest efforts to understand another culture, and the courage to face great challenges can leave a lasting mark on the world. The Khasi people's journey to Christianity was not an easy one, but it was one that brought them closer to education, faith, and a new future. As we look at the present-day Meghalaya, it is clear that the seeds planted by Thomas Jones continue to grow. The churches, schools, and vibrant Christian communities across the state stand as testaments to his vision and dedication. The Khasi people have not only embraced Christianity, but have also made it their own, blending it with their traditional values and cultural practices. In doing so, they have created a unique expression of faith that continues to inspire and influence generations. The story of Thomas Jones and the spread of Christianity in Meghalaya is a powerful example of how one person's commitment and dedication can change the course of history. Through his hard work, his respect for the Khasi culture, and his unwavering faith, Thomas Jones brought light to the hills of Meghalaya, lighting the path for future generations to follow. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new story.